It has been a very long journey from the day that I picked up the phone and saw a Superturbo on the internet for sale going through the auctions in Japan, and I rang Rob from Import Monster and I said, we need to buy this for Marty as a gift because he absolutely loves them. That was a couple of years ago. Fast forward now, we're back here in Australia, and of course, we made Superturbos and Temples 2, which is our 3-hour feature film that you can watch for free on YouTube of us exploring Japan in the car. And now the car's been brought to Australia. We've been going through the process of getting it registered. And today...
Best surprise ever, might I add. Today, the car's going to get registered. But we're going to do some other fun stuff first.
Welcome to another episode of Mighty Car Mods. It's a big one, it's an exciting one, it's an emotional one, YouTube.
So
an emotional one.
Recently, you might have come along with us when we went to a weighbridge to get our weighbridge certificate, which is part of registering a car like the March Superturbo on the road. Now, luckily, we're able to get this car into the country in one piece, not chopped up like the Mira, because the laws changed, meaning we could bring in cars that were 25 years old, approximately. 1992 model, perfect, good to go, but there's some hoops you have to jump through before you can legally drive it on the road. It has to comply with Australian design rules, ADRs, you have to get it blue slipped, you have to go
engineer to go through.
Engineer certificate, you've got to go down to the registry office and take a pile of paperwork about this big and be on your best behaviour and beg with them to actually register it so it can be driven on the road.
There's also stuff that you don't have to do for registration, but we just wanted to do anyway, and that is make it work and put it on the dyno. It's such a mad little nugget. 1 litre of superturded? It's superturd. It's 1 litre of superturd and turbo turd nugget power. And we want to see how much power it makes. So today we're also going to be hitting the dyno. But first, my friend Martin's got some things to fix on it while I get to work on my... I'm not telling you what it is. The other thing.
That thing right next to it.
Yeah. So... what a piece of shit. All right, so Superturbo time. Let's get to it.
I'm heading to the dyno today in this little mad nugget. There's a few little maintenance things I want to do before I go there so I don't waste my time and anybody else's and precious dyno time. The main one being that the fuel pump in this car is 28 years old and probably never been replaced. Japanese fuel, now Australian fuel, it's been sitting around a long time on boats and waiting to be brought to Australia and not used that much. So there's a very high chance that it's just not in the best condition and not supplying the appropriate fuel pressure. It's an easy thing to change in a car like this. Being a Nissan, it's the same as every other 180SX fuel pumps. So I'm just going to quickly whack another one in and then make my way to the dyno.
In a lot of cars, you can access the fuel pump from above through an access hole under the rear seats. It's a good idea to drain some of the fuel out of the tank, especially if the level is high, so you don't make a mess when you do pull the pump out.
Yeah, heaps easy like a 180, except in this car you've got to drop the fuel tank. Fail.
And in some cars, you have to drop the tank out from underneath. It's usually held in by a few bolts or a metal strap. That part is easy. Untangling the various wires and hoses can be a bit of a pain. Because these tanks get a lot of dirt and dust on them, it's a good idea to clean it off first with water and then some compressed air to dry it off. Pumps that look like this are not uncommon for cars of this age, and usually it's a sign the car's been sitting unused for a while, has had a low fuel level with lots of moisture in the tank, or both. While the surface rust itself doesn't usually affect the operation of the pump, the particles on the outside falling into the tank and then being sucked up by the pump isn't great, so I'm going to replace it with a new modern version with a brand new filter.
It's back in. That was a pain to do on the ground. I was hoping I'd be able to get to it from above, but not so. It's back in, new pump's in, it's plumbed in. Before I drop it off the jack stands, I'm gonna go and actually get some fuel, some fresh fuel to throw in it and make sure it's plumbed around the right way, because there is a possibility all those old hoses that are a bit perished may have got them backwards. Always best to check. We've got a gut full of fuel. The last thing to do is plug this loom back into this plug. Should bring our fuel pump back to life, and then turn the key. Oh, sounds like it's priming. Okay, so I've worked out there's really something really simple the pump was just spinning backwards. Something to do with the connections in there. I mean, you saw me connect the red and black together, but for whatever reason, this particular pump, maybe the clip I've used or the plug is not quite right. So thankfully, it's as simple as reversing 2 pins on this plug, and we should be in business. If you're ever stuck with this problem, I'll show you exactly what it sounds like when your fuel pump is wired backwards. Here, all I'm doing is testing 12 volts to see which way it runs. So I just hit the key, and we should see that circuit's going to come alive for a bit and then turn off again, just like the fuel pump will. That's how I identify which one it was. You pull the key out and then plug it back in and prime it again. So put it on reds, on, priming. A relay will click and that'll turn off. There it goes. So that tells me that that's positive, that's negative on the fuel pump circuit. If I plug it in, you're going to hear what it sounds like. So plug that in. If you listen closely, I'll put it near the pump. Here we go. Doesn't make that telltale sign that that's pressuring up, where you hear the fuel sort of run through the system and hit a reg and go, and make like a squelching sound. I'll reverse these pins and I'll show you again. We'll plug it in, and now we should hear the fuel pump prime correctly, and it's a very, very, very different sound. Here we go. The reason it sounds different is the pump is now fighting against the reg, which is regulating the pressure. Prime it again. Sounds better. See if it starts. There she goes. Awesome. Fuel pump installed. That was a complicated job, but starting and idling, so now it's time to go to the dyno.
While not an essential part of the registration process, I want to make sure the car is running perfectly before its final inspection.
I am here at Haltech to do some testing. Work out what's going on with the supercharger, work out what's going on with the turbo, get a base power run, see if there's any weird things going on, problems, issues that are easier to sort out on a dyno. This car is going to be back here eventually when I do some fiddling around with an ECU to get sort of modernise the supercharger and turbo system, because it's a bit old school and there's a lot of room for improvement now that we're 28 years into the future.
Line up the sill with one of the fingers, keep coming towards me a bit. About there somewhere, and then does it feel goodish there?
Yeah, it seems happy, man.
Clutch in.
Clutch in.
Cool. Never really had an opportunity on a super turbo car with electronic throttle stuff being so readily available now and having the right size throttle blades. So with this, how they had to do it was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Compared to now, if we can just use a normal electronic throttle as like the switchover.
Whenever you want.
It seemed to get rid of all the problems that they had forever.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
There's essentially a valve, there's a supercharger and a turbo, and in between there's what looks like a throttle blade that opens and shuts based on stuff. And then turns the supercharger off with like an aircon clutch. And that's it. But there's the amount of vacuum lines just to achieve that is phenomenal. So long term, I would like to simplify it and do it with modern stuff, but do it better and then not have the problems that we may or may not see today.
Mapping throttle angle like in software compared to doing it mechanically.
Yeah. Where do you want your thing and when? There, and I want it at this revs and this boost. Like, that's so cool.
Or flick a switch and we'll change that condition. Or like, it's really cool. So
stuff that I reckon the Nissan engineers, 30 years ago would have been like, we can do what? And
well, mate, RX-7s didn't do it brilliantly. 2J didn't do it brilliantly. Like,
old engines, man. So now with modern tech, Haltech will fix it.
Let's see what happens.
But let's see what it does. I mean, my guess for power, my old one did like 50 kilowatts.
Oh yeah.
And that one didn't run that well.
50.
50, yeah. 50 out of a 1 litre. With low comp, I think it's 8.5 to 1.
It's pretty good power.
Yeah.
Really good power, actually.
8.5 to 1. I think factory they run like 14 or 15 pounds from the supercharger and the turbo. But the dyno will be able to confirm that, right?
What we're going to do, so I'm measuring air-fuel ratio out the back. Boost pressure, because we don't have an engine management system in here that we can talk to through the dyno. We'll set up some of these things. So I've got 2 of these. This will give us a pressure sensor into the dyno, so we can then on the dyno have air-fuel ratio, engine RPM, and we can have, normally we would set this up to measure boost pressure, but we might try and measure boost pressure, and we'll try and tee in somewhere where we might be able to see before and after, like supercharger, for example?
Yeah. Well, this little black box here is called the UFO. That's actually there's a diaphragm in there, and that is what controls the changeover. So that's the control circuit to the throttle valve, which is buried down the bottom. Wow. So it's depending how much pressure it sees on one side from a turbo, atmosphere, supercharger, and one other, and then it leaks away, obviously, back into the intake. That's what determines when it shifts. And when these break, they start, or the valve gets lazy, they start modulating, and that's when you don't get smooth power delivery. So we should actually be able to, I think, tap in there, but I've got a diagram we can check.
That looks fairly straightforward.
No worries.
Imagine being a mechanic 30 years later and you go, can you just quickly just tidy up the vacuum hoses? I just think there might be a cracked one.
So the important thing is that's the changeover valve with the throttle blade in it. That's what's actually controlling it, but it's all being managed by this thing. Okay. And so we should be able to, based on the colour, one side of it, the blue, is going up through that solenoid, which is probably telling it whether it can do it at all, engine protection, and is going into that vacuum solenoid, and then green and into here. So the middle one is the output from what I can tell, but like, look how much is going on there.
This is probably just manifold pressure.
Yeah, one of them should definitely be.
I reckon it's this one.
Because vacuum tank, right?
Because vacuum.
How are we going to make more vacuum?
We'll get a little hand pump. We'll pump it up. That'll get it started. And once it starts, it'll make vacuum forever with any luck.
This is cool because, I mean, the diagram can sort of give you an overview, but actually understanding with your own brain what's going on under different conditions is kind of interesting, I think. So map 1's going to be the vac tank. Did you want to try anything else while we're here? Just do that.
Let's start easy before we destroy anything.
I'll keep our diagram on hand.
If this thing's running well...
It is.
We're going to see...
Reasonably well. It's got some boost changeover issues. Honk.
Okay. Yep. I reckon that's our boost. That's our overall boost reference.
Okay.
As long as there's no check valve, there's going to be a check valve or something in there though.
Well, the diagram says there is, but only on one of the circuits, and there's 2.
Okay.
So we can just try it, but also any of these 3 up here could potentially give us what we need. And they are labelled, so.
Okay.
And I'm going to write down what they do once we work it out.
No, that's perfect. Let's first, with our 2 pressure sensors, just see what's going on, see what's in there.
Cool. Factory.
This package though.
Looks familiar, doesn't it?
Is it the roof of a like a Nissan van thing, a 4-wheel drive van?
No idea. It looks like the kind of thing you'd see in a 4-wheel drive.
Mounted upside down on the roof. Remember that?
Yeah, patrol or something. You know what I mean? Like I know what you mean.
That's
with the little bubbly thing in it.
Yeah.
This, it has a supercharger light, so it's on the same circuit as the plug for the supercharger, so it tells you when you've got supercharger, and it will turn off.
All right.
There's no laptop to look at, is there? You just
feel a bit naked.
Pure dyno.
We're on our own here.
What I'll be interested to see is on a power run, if it can, because this thing seems to struggle with the changeover when it happens quickly, like the diaphragm's bouncing around or it's not working. But we pulled it apart in Japan to try and sort of clean it out, and apparently they do just get caked with shit like so many other mechanical vacuum systems. But I think electronically doing the same thing would still be like the way to go.
All right. Well, how about let's do a power run at full throttle.
Yep.
We'll do a power run at what I would deem on the pedal at about 75%, at about 50%, and about 25%. So we kind of sort of map out everywhere, and then we'll go through and we'll set up on the screen RPM versus pressure 1 and pressure 2, and understand how the switching works.
Mad. Curious to see just what it makes on a power run too, hey? Ready to go?
All right, here we go. On full throttle, go.
Yeah, man. 95 horsepower, 71.8
Superturbo has honked out an impressive and healthy dyno figure, so now it's time to go and get registered.
Okay, so this is happening. Application for registration. I also ordered some number plates that we're going to go and pick up, and hopefully we'll be leaving there with some registration for the Superturbo. Now, we're not driving it there because it's just more driving around with no plates on, and I really don't want to attract attention, so let's see what happens. I've got a receipt, number plate, application. I've got my green slip that I got from Shannons.
That's a lot of paperwork, man.
Heaps, man. I've got my green slip that I got from Shannons as well. Here's somewhere. I've got my compliance certificate there. Compliance certificate, which has all the specs for the car, the weights, the stuff we got on the weighbridge the other day, engine numbers, tyre size, tyre specifications, a whole lot. So let's see what happens. Waiting.
These registry officers are always busy, so if they get knocked back for any reason, it means coming back again on another day and starting from scratch.
Still waiting. Still waiting. So much waiting.
Registering a privately imported car like mine is one of the more complex tasks, so it always takes some time to set up the car in the system.
1 hour and 20 minutes.
The paperwork is audited afterwards, so it has to be done perfectly. But almost 2 hours later, it is done.
Yes!
How'd you go, mate?
I got Rego. We're on the road officially in Australia. I'd show you the plates. Not yet. You'll see them in a bit.
Yes.
Never get tired of the honk.
The honk is so good.
The little Nissan honkmobile. It's the best.
So after a treacherous journey on the high seas of New South Wales registration process, we've got our rego, the plates that I'm hiding behind my back. As soon as these are on the car, we can legally drive around.
Well, we can legally drive around, but we have to change it from laid up insurance to comprehensive insurance.
Right.
But we'll do that later. But unregistered vehicle permit be gone.
Be gone, in the bin.
No longer unregistered.
So, Martin, is it time for a number plate reveal?
Yeah, it is.
Is it?
It's almost as scary as a wheel reveal.
Is it?
Wheel reveal.
Martin, I'm going to hand you the number plates.
Yep.
And look, I can almost see what they are already. That's it, I know what they are. Martin, tell your
Does
stories.
anyone remember what number plates were on this car while it was in Japan? If you don't remember, you can go and have a look. And then you'll know the answer. And the first part of this number plate will make a whole lot of sense. The second half of this number plate should also make a lot of sense.
Yes! 23 honks. So as we know, we have these the 23 plate also on the 240Z. So Ichi Nissan 23. So it's Nissan honk in the JDM style. We can get JDM style plates.
Which actually fit, which is awesome too. So you can get, they actually fit the spacing of the car.
But does it fit, Martin?
Well, you have to check.
Does it fit?
That
is the question.
And also this particular design, we have different rules depending where you live, but this design as well, you don't have to pay like hundreds and hundreds of dollars a year to have it. Like you just pay like a small fee and you can run the plate. So I thought Nissan was fitting, being as that was the exact plate we had in Japan. And then, well, it's the Hummer.
Oh, dude, it actually
fits. And it looks mad, dude.
Oh, it looks so good.
Rego. Amazing. Like we can take this and drive it on the road and we have a fully registered, insured, CTP'd vehicle good to go.
We're about to.
It almost feels like, doesn't
you
matter.
Got a short one?
Doesn't matter.
A long one?
It almost feels like, I don't know. I'm spinning out a bit actually that it's
been a multi-year journey. You know, it's funny now you're just kind of putting a plate on and going, oh, the plate's gone. But it has taken years from buying the car, keeping the car stored in Japan until the laws change enough that we can actually get them into Australia. And now,
navigating
it looks so. That plate looks amazing.
Suits it, doesn't it? Navigating all the rules to even get it on the road over here. Crazy.
Oh, dude, that is so good.
That one's a bit.
Yes. Dude, stand back and bask in the glory of the super honk.
Hang on.
Dude.
This one just needs a little bit of
That is so
encouragement.
good.
Yep. Awesome. Love it.
That is amazing. So good. Well done, Martin. High elbow for you. Well, let's hit the road.
Get some insurance, hit the road, and call the dude.
All right, let's do it. Insurance.
How you going, man?
Good, how are you?
I'm really good. I got my Superturbo regoed, finally.
Awesome. All right, right, well, we should probably get that updated from late up to road cover for you.
Yeah, man.
How often are you going to drive it?
Full comp. I'm going to drive it as much as I can, but weekends and once or twice a week, I reckon.
Can you just flick me across the rego number when you got it?
23 HONK.
Cool.
23 for Nissan, HONK for honk.
Awesome. Love it.
Yeah, mad. Thanks, man. Send me any stuff I need in my email.
All right, cheers.
Thanks, legend.
Have a good one.
See ya.
Bye.
All right, on the road. Let's go.
Life and circumstances push us to make decisions that may involve moving a car on. And it's not often we get a second chance with cars that are so special, like this little Nissan March. Driving it across Japan was an unforgettable experience, hanging out with my best mate, exploring the world, seeing the sights, racing K-cars at Suzuka Twin, and even driving it past Mount Fuji. Some people dream of owning supercars, but this little car is super to me. It's even in the name. It doesn't have to be the fastest, the newest, or the most expensive. A car like this can do all the utilitarian jobs that we use cars for, but also have that little bit of weirdness, quirk, or fun that makes it better to own, and that much more than just a fridge with wheels on it. This Superturbo will now spend its days cruising the streets of Sydney, going to meets, picking up the shopping, and of course, in the not too distant future, modifications. It's honked its way across Japan, and now it's here, ready to honk its way across Sydney and into its new home.